Andarki namaskaram, welcome back to Vamsi Bhavani. We have already discussed three parts of prompt engineering where we discussed the intro first and then went into techniques. And the first technique that we discussed is, yes, short prompting. So we discussed 0 shot, 1 shot, 2 shot, and so on, few shot prompting, right? So basically in this video, we'll try to discuss another technique, right? So basically throughout the series, so part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, all the remaining videos will all be different techniques in prompt engineering, right? Some of these techniques might be, just trial and error sort of, techniques. Some of them would be based on research papers, right? So the technique that we're discussing in this particular video is based on a research paper from Google actually, right? So we'll discuss, I'll actually show you that paper also. Okay, so in fact if you want to go into further depth, you can read that research paper. So my recommendation for you guys throughout the series would be, learn and watch all these videos. But one important thing to note, which I would actually tell you at the end of this video, which will help you understand that these techniques might be a little irrelevant with the examples that are discussed in the research papers, but still they are techniques that can be used in future with combination with other techniques. So learning these techniques is always beneficial, right? Great. So in short prompting, right, 0, 1, 2, few short prompting, we did a simple thing. We gave it a question. Along with question, we gave it the required response or answer also. If it was just one, it was one shot. If we gave, two questions and two answers and then expected the right answer or a deterministic in a given format answer for the third question, then it was too short and so on, right? So it was more around, you telling it the way it should determine the next response, right? So the disadvantages in this particular technique, that is short prompting, is firstly it cannot solve reasoning based problems, right? Secondly, it cannot solve mathematical problems. Thirdly, it cannot solve logical problems, right? So basically when prompt engineering was first like showed light upon was in 2023, right? We are almost heading over to 2025 now. In fact, this video probably would be available to you in 2025, I'm not sure, right? So basically in this 2 years of span, there have been multiple advancements in the LLMs, right? So the examples discussed in the research papers here would today work straight away without using any of these techniques. But remember, that's for simple questions, right? Because in 2023, even simple reasoning questions were not solved by LLMs directly. But today, yes, they could be solved, but for the complex ones, you still need the techniques. Got it? Great. So to solve this disadvantage, right, we are coming up with a new technique, which is COT, chain of thought prompting, right? So the chain of thought prompting is a really simple one. Let's take an example, right? For example, if the question is VTXY, I am expecting the answer or response to be BYCU. Why is that so? Simple reason. Because the character or word next to V is B to the right side, right, on the keyboard, on the QWERTY keyboard, right? To the right of T we have Y. To the right of X we have C. Similarly, for Y we have U. Make sense? So similarly, now I would require what would be the response for VAMSI, Vamsi. Now, in 2023, when you give this question, the LLM, it could be whatever, right? Let's take chatgpt. It would not have responded with the right answer because the logic was not clear. Today in 2024-5, it would probably give the answer, but you get it right. I am explaining this question to you to explain that reasoning questions might be trickier without any reasoning behind that. So what we do is along with the question and answer, we also explain it the reason, right? Or we also explain it the thought process that a human goes through to actually answer this. So basically, when I told you, for B we got, sorry, for V we got B, I told you that for V we got B because B is to the right of V in an QWERTY keyboard. Yes. So similarly, what does chain of thought basically tell you is simple. We explain the logic, we explain the reason, or we explain the mathematical step that went into to get into this answer. Simple, right? Again, based on the complexity of question, you can have 0 COT, 1 COT, 2 COT. What does this mean? It's 0 short COT, 1 short COT, 2 short COT, or few short COT. Now basically, when I explain it, like the logic for VTXY to BYCU, if it is able to give you the answer for VAMSI, that's awesome, right? But let's say it is messing up the answer, it's not able to compute it rightly, then you will again explain the logic of the answer for VAMSI, which is, for example, to the V you have right side, like you have B, for A you have S, for X you have comma, am I right? Yes. For S you have comma, then for I you have D, sorry, for M you have comma, for S you have D, for I you have O, right? So BS comma DO. Now there is a character involved, right? What if your LLM is not able to figure that out? So you explain this also. So from 0 short or 1 short COT, so basically when you give this is 1 short COT. In fact, when you say COT, there is no 0 short COT, because if you are explaining the logic, which is the COT, there is at least 1 shot, right? If you are able to generate the right answer after this one, it's 1 shot. If you need both of this, then it is 2 short COT. If you need more, it will be 3 short or whatever, few short COT, right? That's the whole logic of COT. You explain the logic. Got it? And for COT to work, right, the size, I mean, when I say size, the number of metrics in the specific, model should be high. So the model scale should be high. And in fact, that's the case with most of the LLMs today. That's not an issue. When I say model scale, parameters involved should be in obviously billions, but a higher number of billions, right? Got it? So obviously the number of parameters in today's LLMs are in billions, but the higher the number is, the higher the model scale is. And COT works well for high model scale models only. Got it? Sure. Let me quickly show you the research paper that Google Brain team, I guess, I'll show you that, published in 2023. This is the paper. Let me zoom in a bit. Chain of thought prompting elicits reasoning in LLMs, right? And this is from Google Research Brain team. This is the overall abstraction of the paper, guys. Roger, or let's say this is an example. Let's not get into what the example was. They gave it a answer as well and tried one more question. So they tried 1 shot initially, that didn't work. So they then, instead of just telling the answer, explained the logic for the answer. And then when they tried a next question, it was able to give the response which is more accurate, or in fact the accurate one, right? So chain of thought was introduced by this paper. And if we scroll down, the one that I told you, right, model scale, that would also be mentioned. This is the one. So you have graphs for standard prompting, which is the short prompting, and then you have chain of thought. You'll see that for the bigger model scale, chain of thought usually works better, right? In fact, as I told you, right, if you are interested into like what went into this paper, obviously this is a 43 pages long research paper, so you'll have references at the end, but even then you have a long, pretty decent long paper, right? So if you want to read this out, I will attach the link to this paper in the description. Please go through that, right? I hope this video was helpful. Definitely hit that like button, share it with your friends. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.